Midnight, one more night without sleeping, watching till the morning comes creeping. Green door, what's that secret you're keeping? There's an old piano and they play it hot behind the green door. Don't know what they're doing, but they laugh a lot behind the green door. I wish they'd let me in so I could find out what's behind the green door. Not once tried to tell them I'd been there. Door slammed, hospitality's thin there. Wonder just what's going on in there. Saw an eyeball peeping through a smoky cloud behind the green door. When I said Joe sent me, someone laughed out loud behind the green door. All I wanna do is join the happy crowd behind the green door. Yeah! Oh yeah! Midnight, one more night without sleeping, watching till the morning comes creeping. Green door, what's that secret you're keeping? There's an old piano and they play it hot behind the green door. Don't know what they're doing, but they laugh a lot behind the green door. I wish they let me in so I could find out what's behind the green door. Saw an eyeball peeping through a smoky cloud behind the green door. When I said Joe sent me, someone laughed out loud behind the green door. Ha ha ha! All I wanna do is join the happy crowd behind the green door. Wish they'd let me in so I could find out what's behind the green door. What a fantastic rock and roll song. Green Door is part 4 of my musical rainbow. And of course, what a song like that for the colour green. Super song, originally by Jim Lowe. And what a fantastic version. A real gentle, sort of like swinging sort of rock and roll version of that. But to me, it was mostly made famous by Welsh singer Shakin Stevens in the 1980s. So I'll post Shaky's version in there too. But talking about the musical rainbow and talking about green, what a fantastic colour it is. And it's such a big, broad range of colours within one. Because if you think of mint green is quite different to emerald green or British racing green or lime green. Or Cercle Bruges green, my favourite Belgian team. There's 2 greens on this. Now, in Europe and in North America, we would describe green, as I say, that big, broad range of colours. However, not every country in the world, not every culture in the world describes green in that way. And I'm going to talk a little bit now about the Himba tribe in Namibia. And you might be able to see just behind me, there is the map of the world. Obviously, it's backwards. But what we're going to do is focus around this part of the world, because that is Namibia. Now, the Himba people have not one colour for green, but they have 3 different subgroups, 3 different colours, if you like, of our green. There would be subgroups of our perception of green, but theirs is 3 distinct colours. Most interestingly to me, is that one of those colours of green also is like it includes dark green and dark blue and brown, and that is one colour for the Himba people. And it's quite an interesting thing to try and get your head around that, having colour that to us in our culture so distinctly different, but it's natural. It's part of their culture. A few years ago, there was some research and experiments done with perceptions of colour with people from Europe and people from the Himba tribe. And it was quite interesting conclusions, really. It wasn't a vast experiment, it wasn't a complex experiment, but what it basically involved was displaying on a tablet device 12 blocks of colour, 11 of them being a kind of a green and one of them being blue. Now, when they showed this to the people of the Himba tribe, it took them a little longer. Their response time, their reaction time to identifying which was the odd one out was significantly slower than when the same experiment was done to people from Europe. Now, conversely, when the 12 colours would change slightly, so the 11 of them were one shade of green and the odd one out was a different shade of green, the European people doing the experiment took a little while to distinguish which was the different shade, whereas the Himba people saw it instantly. It was like for them, it was seeing a different colour. Whereas to our culture and our perception, we would see them as similar, slightly different shades. Now, that really is a mind-blowing sort of concept, really, because not only is it that different cultures describe colour differently to my culture, to kind of European culture, but that makes you think that they interpret things differently. They interpret colour differently. If their response time to what we would see as a clearly different colour, their response time is slower, and yet they can identify quite subtle differences in shades of green. That would suggest that they perceive colour, they interact with the world through colour, like on different terms to kind of European and North American people, which is amazing. It's amazing. Your culture can determine how you perceive the world of colour. It's fantastic. I'd like your views on the colour green, because it's so broad, and your views on the Himba tribe and Himba people. I'll post a video in there that explains a bit more about that experiment, but it's really fascinating stuff. But in our European culture, green is a representation of environmentally friendliness. It's also identifies vegans and vegetarians. And it also, in some parts of the world, green can be an identifier of believers of the Catholic faith too. So green can mean an awful lot of different things to different people. So it's a fascinating colour. So there you go. Please feel free to share your thoughts and pop them in the comments below. But I think I've probably talked enough now. So I'll leave you to it. All I'll say is thank you very much for watching part 4 of the Musical Rainbow. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll join me next time. So for now, it's goodbye from me.